Well, howdy, Internet people. How are we doing today? It's Sunday, November 29th, 2020. Checking online, came across a story concerning about caregivers. And doing a little further research on a Google there, came up with a hell of a lot more options, questions, and things. It kind of had to put me pause at this point over here because there was a hell of a lot of dealing with caregiving. I know you probably expected me to go off on either a tangent or go confusion at this point over here. Probably a little both. Side note before we get into the caregiving business. You've heard of David Prowse. Anybody who was a sci-fi nutjob and grew up on the original Star Wars a long time ago ever heard of David Prowse. He was the tall bodybuilder in the mask and in the bodysuit of Darth Vader. Well, he passed away last night. Short illness got to him. Not coronavirus, related though. But still, he's going to be missed. A lot of fans are slowly waking up to the fact that Darth Vader is now dead. Now, if James Earl Jones dies, Darth Vader will truly be dead. So with that, I give my tribute for this one. I had been a caregiver for a long while. I had been a caregiver for a hell of a long while, and I care to admit. I started being a caregiver, not by choice, when I was helping my mother take care of a disabled grandmother who got bedridden by a stroke. I have put a lot of history of myself in the videos prior, and in that you're probably going to deduce where, when, how. My grandmother was a special woman. We're moving from Arleta into Granada Hills, California, San Fernando Valley from 1979. Large bedroom to a smaller compact area. Due to a rush job and people helping us out and shoving shit around it, got us confused as hell and pissed off as hell because they wanted us out of their hair one way or another. And during that time, my grandmother was also grieving because she had her sister pass away as well. Her sister was about 3 years older than her. I had named Marshall. That was the soul. I mean all that at one time, and changed to her in the last 2 or 3 years, I guess, of her life. It mattered a great deal to me. We were living in the mess. Ma and Grandma would get into arguments on some things, and it got to a point where Grandma needed to, quote-unquote, travel to see her relatives, actually her children. I thought it was a good idea. Give her a plane ticket to go to see relatives out in San Diego. Next thing we hear, she's having a stroke. And this was like heavy-duty time because it was going to hit when 7th grade was kicking in. Actually, beginning out of elementary school into 7th grade. I already did at least partially a semester over at school, and then finished up 7th grade and started 8th grade. I got a vacation. And in the 8th grade, summertime, Ma went over to San Diego to see how Grandma was. She stabilized. Transport up here to Los Angeles area, San Fernando Valley. Ma had to jump through a lot of hoops to get power of attorney transferred to her, and to have the state recognize Ma as the guardian of Grandma. Grandma was about 75 years old. She had a nice long life. And she lived a little bit longer life, albeit a surrealistic nightmare, as a stroke victim. She passed away 3 years after she got hit. It was hard as hell to deal with that. Meanwhile, I'm going to junior high, and I'm dealing with Ma, who's got health issues left and right, but she's the caregiver. She's got in-home health services visiting her from time to time. We had nurses coming in, checking Grandma out left and right. We had a Catholic church that had people coming over to see how she was. Grandma was very Catholic. I didn't understand Catholicism, still don't. But Grandma's ties to Catholicism was pretty damn strong. She never did like anybody cursing a storm, even in front of her. She knew how to tide people left and right, even on her stage. But I saw the toll it took on my mother. My mother always was suffering from a bad back, taking care of two elderly ladies. My aunt and my grandmother afterwards. And to see her go crazy on this one. It's no wonder my brother had to take unauthorized leave from the Navy. The Navy and everybody else that he tried to contact couldn't help us out. He had to do it. He had to make the ultimate sacrifice for himself. And he became a caregiver for about a year and a half. He had to go back to the Navy and deal with the consequences. And still came back and helped Ma out, taking care of Grandma. Meanwhile, we did have some relatives. Every once in a while, they could pop in to checking up on Ma and me to see how we were doing and see if they could relieve Ma for a little bit as Ma tried to get some rest. Tried taking care of her for a bit. Being a caregiver isn't easy, especially when you're dealing with a disabled lady in a bed when half her body's already dead because of a damn stroke that screwed up her brain. The stroke nailed the right side, which made the left side dead, basically. There was no electrical activity going into the left side, so we had to keep it moving, just to keep the blood going. I mean, there was blood going in there, but there was no voluntary movement for the arms. Okay. Health 101. The brain is a centralized mechanism. It is a resource center, a computer. It is an analyzer. It takes a hell of a lot of input from a lot of sources to act the way it does. Well, that's one way of saying it. We have a nervous system. We have wires going in throughout our body, all the way from the fingertips all the way to the spine. We have a spinal column that takes all these nice little leads. All the sensory input that you get, the visual, the smells, the taste, the hearing, the tactile, the feel. All of it being transmitted electronically through chemicals into the brain. We're analyzing all the time. Constantly. Never sleeps. Never sleeps. But it can be damaged. If blood pressure isn't right, if there's blood clot in there and it squeezes off blood flow, there are portions of the brain that can shut down because they did not get the proper nutrients and oxygen needed to function, and therefore they start to die off. The brain cells that function, that keep our motor senses, that keep our ambulatory, that keep our vocalizations, our auditory, our visual acuity, the autonomic nervous system, the autonomic systems that run our body, even in the ones that we control sometimes. All of these sophistication things going on in the head, in the brain. The brain's a pretty damn weird thing, isn't it? But imagine having half that brain, or at least portions of it, shutting down where you can't use this side. The left side of my brain controls the right side of the arm, just like everyone else's brain, because that's the way it's wired. Now, if this shut down, and this is still active, information from here is not processing, and this is shut down. This can't tell this what's going on. I can move an arm right now because everything is processing right now. But imagine this thing shut down from a stroke. Bursted blood vessel, screwed up damn brain cells where they can't recover. They can't bypass. And it takes a hell of a long while for the brain to bypass itself. It will eventually, once you retrain it and keep trying to do things over and over and over again. Of course, you have to have the will, and hopefully if the brain's functioning barely enough, maybe you can get some more motor feelings in this hand after this has been damaged. But if it's damaged so severely where this complete side is dead, you'll know it. Eye drooping, facial expression like this, smell productive. And it's not funny to see. It's not funny to even look at. Because also part of that brain in here, or even on both sides, contains knowledge, short-term, long-term, facial recognition, ID recognition. Who the hell am I? Who the hell are you? I could have just a brain fart right now, or a bit of a mini stroke, and give me one quick second. Okay, sorry about that light. I want to show you something. Now I want you to do screen print. Take a camera shot of this. Keep it anywhere else that you need to. But this is important, okay? This is important, this information right here. This is what my mother had been dealing with regarding my grandmother. We didn't know about this information. We really did not know about this information when it happened. I mean, they had a lot of information concerning about strokes, but we never had any warning signs. The doctors that my grandmother had seen, they didn't warn her. They didn't warn Grandma. They sure as hell didn't warn Ma. We didn't know Grandma was going to be on her way for a stroke. We didn't know it until it happened. And then it's like after 1 or 2 weeks that she's away from us is when we started getting the phone calls from our relatives out in San Diego, and they're telling us Grandma had a stroke and she's in a hospital. She had to stay there and stabilize for a long while before she got transported up here, as I said before. So now we're dealing with an elderly lady in a bed, on the hospital bed. We had to get in there. We had to get hospital equipment. We had to get a chairlift. We had to get basically a power lift of some sort. A manual power lift. Hydraulic. You pump the pressure up in order to get the person up. And then you had to swing him over, put him in a chair. I couldn't do it. I had to do it all. Ma did part of it, but we also had help. We had friends coming over to help us out in situations where we need to. Mostly it was just Ma and me. Ma would be doing all the cooking, and because Grandma couldn't chew as much, We had to parade the food. Didn't like it very much, neither did we. Grandma's memory was affected a hell of a lot. There was some long-term damage and there was some short-term damage in there, but there was still a lot of information Mom was still trying to pull out of Grandma. I just wish I had a tape recorder during that time. I was too young. I mean, I was having enough issues as a kid going through puberty, not to mention going through junior high, and then had to go through high school regarding this? What, am I kidding me? Grandma has a stroke in the 8th grade, then I have to deal with the 8th grade, and then the 9th grade, and then in the 10th grade, and in the 11th grade she passes away? What is this stuff? My brother had to do whatever he had to do to get out of the Navy. I had to help Mom because nobody else would have helped out in the Navy. He went through every channel. Even after his discharge, this was back in the 80s, he never really was discharged out of the Navy because every time there was a conflict, he was always being called up on it. They called up everybody for him. First, let's see, specialized op missions, rescue operations. The first Gulf War, 9/11. They gave him his discharge back in the mid-80s, mid-late 80s. They told him that he was bad conduct discharge because he had to fight like crazy to get out of the Navy fast. Nobody was helping out Ma. Nobody was coming from the Navy to help us out, or from Salvation Army, or from Red Cross, or anybody. We only had family helping us out, not to mention the state of California on some occasions when they felt generous enough to do so. So it was all on Ma's shoulders, and it was giving her a hell of a lot of grief and heartache and backache issues, and I still had to help out. It's not easy rolling a lady to and fro on a damn draw sheet, scrunch it up and put a new one underneath her because she soiled the damn thing. Or let alone put her in a damn chair in order for her to come out to the living room on some occasions. Or actually put her in the chair so we can get the bed cleaned off. Let alone wash. That wasn't my job to wash her. No, we had people coming in to do that. Gave her a sponge bath. And sometimes Ma would do it too. We had to get draw sheets from mail order companies. And then we found out there was a place by Van Nuys Airport that had medical supplies. And my brother came back home finally. Even in this year, even in his year of hell, staying home before he went back in the Navy to take care of the consequences. He was going all over the place, helping Mom, working at different jobs, but also running around for her as well. So we weren't exactly all. It was hard waking up in the middle of the night hearing this, Fred, Ma, there's no Fred. I want Fred here. Grandma, Fred's not here. Go back to sleep. How come Fred's not here? Because there's no Fred. There should be Fred. Fred! What she was talking about was a young man named Fred in her past. Grandma was born back in 1903. 1905. Aunt May was born in 1903. There was a young man that caught my grandmother's heart back then named Fred. I never remember what his last name was. A young lad. Her mind kept going back and talking about people in the past we never even heard of. Ma was trying to siphon every bit of knowledge out of her in the first place. We never did have a tape recorder to tape record all this information. Because it was about relationships and other people that we never even heard of. And when she kept talking about Fred all the time, we thought he was an imaginary character. Until Ma was telling us decades later that Fred was actually legitimate and shows me a picture of the guy. I'm thinking right now, those guys ought to be having a hell of a field day with each other, arguing with each other. Ma and Dave, Grandma, and then Fred. Meanwhile, I'm stuck trying to relay part of a story over here that's incomplete. Because everybody's got the portions of what was going on. I'm just dealing with telling Charlie here. But you deal with these kind of things as a caregiver. You're dealing with mental health illnesses, and you're dealing with the medical illnesses concerning about your charge there. Especially when I was a teenager dealing with my grandmother. And the hardest damn thing was seeing my grandmother day after day like this, because I loved my grandmother a great deal. And there was not a damn thing I could do except hug her and give her a kiss every so often, just to let her know I still cared, and I still did. And do. And it's kind of hard to talk about that sometimes, because I really didn't grieve as hard and as long, because I wasn't allowed. I had to force myself to deal with school. I had to force myself to deal with home, and not to mention Ma didn't give herself time to grieve and feel miserable. But she tried. She was just on automatic pilot, because now she had to take care of two guys in the home, and she had to get a rent, and then she had to shove everything aside she had. So imagine, decades later after you losing your mother, you're finally laying in a hospital bed, and then the depression kicks in. And the realization right now is just sinking in. When Mom started getting worse and worse, she was feeling, I imagine, the grief and the pain and the loss even worse, that she couldn't function. She couldn't get her work going. She couldn't feel any happiness. She started becoming more and more miserable and more angry and hard to please, because she was tearing her ass apart left and right. We didn't see it. We didn't see she was going through extreme grief at the time. It's not until I started really thinking about this thing and talking to a couple of neighbors on how deep grief can be. I'm like, holy shit, my mother was going through the same damn shit. She had to pack up everything she had inside her head so she'd be able to function. But somehow, as the years went by, it got worse and worse and worse, where she couldn't function physically or mentally. And she started saying, I want to die. I want to go home. I want to be with my family. You know what scares the hell out of me? You know what really scares the hell out of me at this point over here? Is I'm going to be ending up the same way I am. I have to keep talking about this. I have to keep talking about this. Because I know one day, when I'm not going to be talking about this damn thing, it's going to build up like Mount St. Helens, and either it blows or kills me. And it's going to get to a point where I'm going to start saying, hell with everything. And there had been times, right after my brother's death, that I've been going through this. I was his caregiver for the last several years of his life. But I never even realized how long my caregiving duties were. Because after Grandma died, I didn't realize I still had caregiving duties afterwards. Taking care of Ma and taking care of Dave. I wasn't thinking about it. I was thinking of taking care of my own damn self and just trying to stay alive and trying to struggle like crazy. And since I already disappointed my mother by not going to school, I didn't realize I also had mental health issues regarding that situation as well. I didn't realize I had a damn complex issues going on left and right, even to this day. Because it still dawns on me, every little bit of that, every time I keep talking about stuff like this, it comes out. It comes out in pieces and chunks. I'm not saying it's panning for gold at this point over here, but for some it may be gold. For others, constant nightmare. And there's still a huge chunk, there's still a huge vein in there, still needs to be mined out. And little by little, it gets pieced out. What scares the hell out of me is ending up my grandmother in a bed, and nobody there to care about me. I know what the life of a caregiver is like. I know what the life of losing a family member is like. But when you lose everybody, I understand more so about the pain and the agony than anything else. And it hurts like hell to even realize it, or even see yourself in the mirror talking about things like this, let alone a damn camera. I talked to great length about my grandmother because I didn't talk about my grandmother in great length over it, because it still hurts like hell. I'm going to school, I'm trying to study, I'm trying to do things like crazy. I'm taking drugs that's supposed to be clearing up my damn acne, it's fucking up my damn brains. I'm dealing with an emotional situation and seeing my grandmother dying before me, and then after she does die, I'm starting to die on the inside myself. And I couldn't deal with it, I couldn't live with that. And I had to find different ways of mentally escaping from the damn thing. Screw the damn drugs and screw the damn alcohol at this point over here, even though they may be temporary crutches. Is trying to use the imagination, trying to escape from everything else, and trying to not deal with life or dealing with a family, dealing with a drugged out brother who had an issue, and then working through his recovery of him trying to get past his own damn issues. Ma, her own damn issues are still causing her more and more problems. But she still had to work. And she still had to work. She had to drive herself. She had to drive herself insane sometimes, working like crazy. Work at different companies left and right, getting stressed out left and right. No wonder she had heart issues. And no wonder she kept smoking too many damn times. That one day the doctor says, this is going to kill you. Marianne, you have got to take it easy on yourself. Get rid of these damn things now. I had never seen a lady go through a damn withdrawal. But she went through it. And she scared the hell out of me and my brother. My brother was an adamant smoker till the day he died. He was an adamant Coca-Cola drinker until the day he died. He was going to die the way he was going to die and screw everything else. That's what happened. I've talked about that long enough, but I'm going to talk about it anyway, because I have to get it out. This is part of the caregiving situation I've been living with for a long while, okay? Hell with the damn disclaimers at this point. I tried to take care of my family, despite the health I may have had. I had accidents growing up as a kid. Then as an adult, I had to be very extra careful about myself. And I didn't realize what kind of damages I had suffered still. Or what my family was going through. And I was told Ma was going to die. We lived in apartments decades later, Lancaster, after we moved from one place to another place in Palmdale. Back in 2005, we couldn't find rent in the San Fernando Valley. There was a lot of things going on during that time. Landlord was going to be selling a damn property. We couldn't buy the damn property if we wanted to. We couldn't rent the damn property anymore because the prices were too damn high. And we had to leave. So we left. We got scammed. We got placed in the Antelope Valley of hell. And got placed from one place to another place to another place, in an apartment building for about 5 years during that time. 5-year period. 5-year period. To see my mother's health deteriorating from worse to death. Because when we moved out here, her health was really starting to deteriorate mentally, and it was taking the toll on her physically. David and I talked, but I guess he really didn't quite figure it out that maybe a lot of her stuff that she had gone through, even with Grandma, was taking a major toll on her. There's not a damn thing we could have done about it. Nothing. Her business suffered. It almost became meaningless to her. Clients left her in droves. Got scammed out by one of her client friends. Always became part of the family. All the shit she had to endure. Not to mention dragging her kids halfway across the universe or something like that. Some things had to have been triggered in her that made her want to just say, screw life. And I didn't see this. I didn't know anything about this. Honest to God, I didn't. There was no discussions with any doctors. There was no discussions with any shrinks or psychologists. We should have had been, but nobody saw the signs. Nobody recognized the signs, despite the fact she kept going to doctors on some occasions, but not often enough. And she did go to doctors and get tested out for one thing or another thing, but they weren't figuring it out either. I could have. I should have, but I didn't. They weren't looking for the signs. The major withdrawal at this point over here of everything. She had psychological services in the San Fernando Valley, but out here, the Antelope Valley, she had shit. She had it. And she was losing her sense of humor. It's like she was willing herself to die. And the only thing I could do is work my ass off and watch the whole process go. And my brother's telling me while we're living in the apartments in Lancaster, she's dying. I kept denying the whole damn thing. I thought she was going to be getting out of the damn thing and pulling out of it. I didn't see. I didn't want to see. I chose not to see what was going on with my mother and how it was affecting my brother, let alone affecting me. I had to work my ass off harder and harder at a job I hated. Stayed there for 7 years. Practically. And got damaged. Or I couldn't work afterwards. And discarded. And then see my own mother die. I say about the caregiving, but she knows I hadn't said anything specifically concerning about her. Besides trying to be a breadwinner at this point over here, doing a 24/7 most days. You work several hours at a job, and you come back home, and then you gotta work several more hours. Maybe get at least 2 or 3 hours of sleep if you're lucky, and then go back and do the routine all over again for God knows how long. If she wanted breakfast in bed about 11 or 12 o'clock at night, you do that. 20 minutes later, she's got a couple of pieces of bacon, she's got some toast, she's got some eggs. She's got a pomelo. Half of one, anyway. I wasn't the only one. David was doing all that, too. He didn't get much sleep, but he was also having heart issues. He was getting more heart issues than anything else. He was getting angina attacks the last 20 years. Things at home were getting more and more stressful. Even he couldn't deal with it. Damn smoking was putting a lot of pressure on his heart. And his diet wasn't exactly helpful either. They kept telling him to stay off the damn sugar. I'm sticking with my cokes, I'm sticking with my smokes. Two things that killed him. And that was the hardest damn thing to deal with that situation. Then I'm dealing with Ma. And I'm seeing her deterioration. I'm seeing from her barely getting out from a damn pot, commode, into bedpans. It was so embarrassing calling the fire department every so often to help get her off the bed. My brother and I couldn't do it. They kept telling us and suggesting to us very strongly to put her into a nursing home. Well, my brother and I had experiences with nursing homes and also other care facilities like that. We said, screw it, we're doing it ourselves. The fire captain wasn't exactly happy with us all the time. But at the end, months later, when we crossed paths after Mom passed away, he said we did a hell of a job after she passes away. Not during. Shit. It wasn't easy going to the hospitals all the time or the doctor's office with them, making sure that they actually had oxygen with them all the time. Concentrator in a room, emergency tank in my bedroom, ready to rock and roll. A 2 or 3 hour tank. I think longer than that. I think it was about an old day tank, I think. Big, huge, cast iron, heavy monster. It's bad enough we had the smaller ones we kept getting every so often from Mapria Healthcare. And all the equipment that we had leased from them. We had to make sure that there was no fumes or smoke or anything happening in the house. We had to vent everything else outside because we didn't want it to go into Ma's lungs. The concentrator sucked out oxygen, filtered it, and put it through oxygen tubes into her. Because of her breathing, it got so labor intensive. She had to be on 24/7. Smoking damage accumulated. 3 years of smoking did that to her. Going into a car, my brother's driving and I'm in the back seat with all the other supplies for the rock and roll. It doesn't matter if it was a station wagon or the van. Tail and Charlie, and I'm picking up the pieces left and right. I'm the support guy. Dave's supposed to be doing all the damn work, and sometimes I did it and he gets the credit for it. Or I get the credit for it and get chewed out for it. Sometimes not. It was hard as hell to talk to people about this at different places because they hadn't gone through it. How the hell was I going to be able to tell them or deal with it? Unless I talked to someone who's been through it or had been going through caregiving. You really couldn't tell a stranger the details of what goes on. The emotional ups and downs, this point over here. The physical traumas that people get. The mental health issues. Oh yeah, sounds nice and generic when you're talking things like that. But when you're talking to a person who had gone through it, who's looking at the damn bank accounts, trying to balance everything else out, trying to fight with the insurance companies left and right to get more help with less pay, dealing with the county system regarding back pay for in-home health services when they owed you one. You had to keep on top of the bureaucracy on that, let alone dealing with the doctors and their double talk when you didn't even understand the medical terminology at the point, or what they're saying about your charge. That's our case. In my situation regarding the medical situation, I was trained in the healthcare industry as what's called care representative twerps, who worked with your benefits and your claim statuses at a healthcare company. I had to know the terminology of the insurance companies. I had to know the terminology of medical, so I could understand what was going on. It wasn't the easiest damn thing either, especially when I'm looking at Ma's medical records and the stuff they keep giving to her, all the discharge paperwork. I'm saying, holy shit, Dave, this is what she's been through. It was bad enough when I had to see my own brother's stuff, and it even got worse. I'm trying to interpret all that stuff. Like, this is what they said? Yeah. Holy shit, Dave. Yeah, don't worry about it. Dude, did you actually understand what the hell I'm trying to tell you about this damn stuff over here? John, don't worry about it. This is my fucking job, you asshole. This is my job. I'm a caregiver for you, remember? John, we're not going to have this discussion, are we? Oh, yes, we are. I think I came into a few beauties with him on that one. When it was my brother's term in time, however you want to place it, say it. When it was his turn, Johnny on Spot's second stringer became the top banana. Well, the thing is with my brother situation there, he still had all his faculties until 2018, he lost it. He also stroked, but it wasn't dramatic. It was slow. It was painful. It was deadly. Beforehand, I mean, my brother was barely getting around, and I was doing more of the foot walking, going to the store left and right on my own. My brother, when he was actually able to, would go on the dollar rides, well, transportations and buses and stuff to get around to different places, including doctors. But when he got a hell of a lot worse, with the damn stroke, they started taking out his mobility. And the last few weeks, it was taking out his speech. My ability to communicate with you predicates on the fact that I've got a working brain. I've got a speech center, I've got a logic center, I've got several other areas in the brain that are in communication constantly in order for me to think thoughts, to verbalize the thoughts, to actually write thoughts down or type thoughts. Typing. Finding different ways to communicate. Now, if you start breaking those chains up one by one by one by one, this is my brother. And it frustrated him like crazy. He barely got a warning in time that he needed to get 911 because he could barely breathe. And I had it. I'd gotten the 911 on his ass. And it was still not enough. He still went down. There wasn't a day to go went by afterwards that I didn't blame myself for everything. Massive guilt trip. Second guessing everything. Third guessing, actually. Going over step by step what I could have done, what I missed, what should have been pushed and what I tried to push and it got pushed back. Because sometimes your church doesn't want to admit it, acknowledge it, and just push on forward. We are our own worst patients if we're going to be taking care of ourselves. And when we have somebody else trying to take care of us, we're even worse than that. Because we fight like hell. We fight like hell because we don't want to face our own mortality or our own situation. How the hell are we supposed to deal with that? We're dying. But we can't deal with that? Well, deny it. We're still going through it, so fuck it. Till something happens and then you either accept it or you don't. When you're a caregiver, it's hard to hell to see the decisions being made. Now, if you actually had the power of attorney, I mean absolute power of attorney, I'm not talking about durable, I'm talking about absolute at this point over here, when you're in charge of everything about this person's life, then you can make a life or death situation decisions at this point over here, whether or not they're going to be tubed up or not, and how long they're going to be like this, and you have to make the decisions whether or not you're thinking in the best interest of them and not of you. My brother a long time ago had told me before he passed away that he didn't want to be anything up like Ma. In fact, we were reminded of what Ma went through and should not have gone through when we finally found the damn paperwork. Only weeks later she passed away and then turned into ashes. We're like, shit, didn't we have this thing? Yeah, she was over at this facility over here, and she had legal representation. We had people over there. Hell, we knew about this damn thing, but when you're in a panic situation, you're not thinking about the legal ramifications. You're not thinking about the damn piece of paper that's already filled out and put it into another area left and right, safe and secure, so you'll know where the hell it is when you can whip it out and say, yes, we can't do this. No, because you're thinking about saving your charge, and you're going full tilt boogie on this one. You're so invested. You're so invested that there's nothing to change. You're going to do it. Unless, of course, you've already got it in front of your face saying you can't do this. My brother didn't get to the point of putting that in writing and having it legalized and notarized. And they fought like hell to get a tube down his throat. And in the end, September 8th, 2018, gets wheeled into the emergency room. Has a pin cushion and a slab of beef. And they fought like hell trying to get a tube down his throat, and they couldn't. They couldn't. Because he was too far gone. He gave up. Or his body gave up, or something gave up. Something shut down, and he didn't want to deal with it. And then the after effects is I have to deal with every other legal matter that happens up. Any financial situations happen up. Any bill collectors out there I have to deal with. Anything else my brother had been dealing with, it becomes my job now. I'm the executor. But it was never put into words. It was never put into documentation. It just got handed over. I had to make the decisions for my brother. When my brother was still alive, he was making decisions for himself until he died. And the hardest damn thing when you're dealing with a caregiving situation like that, when you're dealing with a relative, is you see things differently than what they do, whoever they are. whatever relationship they are to you. You may not be always right. It's worse when you have a family member to argue with. When you have somebody else that you're quote unquote in charge with and are not related to you in any way, but they become related to you in some way. You become vested into their livelihood in every which way but loose. I know I'm using cliches, but still. My brother and my mother were the same damn way. My brother had been made durable power of attorney. My brother never made me power of attorney at all. I just became it. But there are certain things I couldn't cross, even though I could piss him off left and right and say, this is what you need to think about. Have faith, trust God. Have faith, trust God. And I'm thinking, dude, you sound like the damn idiot in the frickin' valley is about to be wiped out, and he's saying God's going to save me. God's throwing out every lifeline right here to save his ass, and his ass still ends up in front of St. Peter asking why. And then he's reminded. God sent you all these things, all these helps, all these signs, and you're still in front of me? What the fuck's wrong with you? Sometimes I felt like that with my brother. Sometimes I had a fight with my brother. I'd walk away. There was one point I was ready about to walk away permanently. I figured, yeah, there's no other place for me to go. So maybe on the streets. I knew the fuck was going to take care of him. When you're that vested in your family, when you're that close to them, it doesn't matter who the hell's right or wrong. You shove the anger and you shove the differences aside. You throw away the damn pride. You get it out, and then you get back into it again. It's hard as hell as it is. Some people will just walk away because they don't want to deal with it anymore. They're not going to deal with it anymore. They're not going to deal with the damn damage. Me, unfortunately, I was too damn vested in it. I was too damn brainwashed and brain damaged. Maybe I should have left my brother a long time ago. But to think of it as living with him for the longest time I had. I knew there was a 50-50 situation going on. Damn it if I do, damn it if I don't. Used to depend upon him for life support and everything else. And he depended upon me for everything else as well. We've watched each other's backs growing up. He taught me more than that. He was more like my father than my own biological sperm donor was. I owed him a hell of a lot. And after his death, I blamed myself for a hell of a lot. I put myself through damn crucifixes left and right. Tried not to talk about it, tried not to put myself in a damn soapbox, but unfortunately YouTube is the soapbox. So I'm coming up as a damn sorry-ass martyr at this point. Pity me, pity me. Somebody smack the crap out of me. Yeah, I should be feeling different ways, or thinking different ways that, you know, I helped my brother out. I should have been this way, or I should have been that way. I should have been feeling pride and everything else. I looked at it as my job. I was his brother, and I was taking care of my big brother. I was his baby brother, doing the job he was supposed to be doing. We're supposed to be looking after each other after Mom died. That's what we did. That's what we kept doing. And the hardest damn thing to deal with is talking about all this stuff. It's not easy to open up. It's not easy opening up this stuff. I mean, screw the damn cliches at this point over here. It's hard as hell to dig out all the details to show to the public what the hell caregiving's all about. You haven't walked in, so you have no idea. If you're caring for a friend or caring for someone right now, maybe you're getting a clue. Once you're in the game, you're in the game. It's no way out of it. You're vested. You throw everything you can into it. You just cannot say you can just walk away and not feel a damn thing about it. Once you caregive, there is no way of walking away from it. You're scarred for life. You're marked for life. Some people still have the capacity to stay in the game, dealing with others because they got the love for them. I did it out of my family survival at this point over here. I don't think I could deal again with some of those. I put too much. There's nothing I could say or do to bring it back. Or do I want compensation for all of it? When you're looking for the compensation for it, the rewards of it, don't. I had a job to do. I had a duty. I had a duty to my family. Call me weird. I don't care. Hard as hell to talk to people about things like this. Too damn deep. There's no words to express what you go through emotionally or physically, spiritually. There are no words. How can you tell people about it? How can you explain to a common stranger about what you're going through? How can you actually give them the details of all the emotional wringing out of your damn soul and your mind of everything that you've been going through left and right? How can you tell a damn shrink about this damn shit? Now, unless they've been through it. I mean, academia is one thing. Until you have the practical experiences, you got shit. All you got is just educated book learning, but not actual practical experience. Not when you walk through it. And no wonder some people commit suicide after this damn thing. I wouldn't blame them anyway. I don't blame them for it. Because it tears apart your soul left and right until you feel like you're worthless as shit when they're gone. You put your self-esteem, you put everything else you can to make you worth you. It makes you you. And then they're gone. And it's an empty space, an empty hole. And sometimes it feels like a damn black hole sucking your ass in there. And then you tear your ass apart over it. You start blaming yourself. You start tearing yourself apart, whether or not if you did the best you could. No matter how many times people keep telling you on the outside, you did the best you could, you did this and you did that. And they're trying to give you higher marks. The only thing you're saying inside yourself is, what kind of a piece of shit am I? I didn't do enough. I didn't do enough. My own health is failing right now, and I didn't do anything to help them. I was pushing everything else more, but like a succubus. What do you call it? Sycophant? Damn vampire, I think that's the word for it. Or it could be another word for it. So starts with an S. Yeah. Suck your life. Suck everything out of you. And they'll suck your marrows out of your bones. You're still not given enough. You still feel like you're deep in depression. And you are. I know I am. I still am. Not the easiest damn thing to deal with, I tell you. There have been some days I can watch a movie or television show And I could see patterns coming up where, if I've seen the show long enough, I know what the hell to look for at this point over here, and it still triggers me, and I'm still blubbering like a damn idiot. No, 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 no. Damn idiot. I'm blubbering because I am so damn emotionally distraught and torn apart inside. It's hard as hell to deal with this. It's emotionally a toll wrecker. Some videos I know are short, and this was a hell of a long thing because I had a hell of a lot of things to say. Caregiving takes a lot out of you. You're going to be asking what the benefits are, what the rewards are. I don't know. Honest to God, you've got to be committed. You've got to be insane enough to do this damn thing. You've got to be... I don't know what's the qualification for it. I don't know what people will say about this. The only thing I know I say about it is it tore me apart left and right. And I did it again, and I did it again. Not because I'm an addict for it, because when it's my family involved, my own family, my own familia, I gave everything. I gave a lot. But if I was looking at this and the reward situation, what I'm going to be getting out of it, I wouldn't have gotten into it in the first place. There's nothing I could say, and there's nothing I could convince or do to tell the other person that it's well worth it. No, because you have to feel it, you have to know it, you have to have the instinct for it. And then again, you have to have the courage and the strength to continue forward. And after you get your charge lost on you, one way or another, it takes a hell of a long while to get back up to speed again, to get your courage, to get your life back. And all the while, they keep telling you to monitor your own damn health because you're going to be taking a hell of a you're going to be taking a hell of a toil and a drain on everything. I mean, a drain on everything. And they're not kidding. Everything. A to Z. Why do I did it? Why do I do it? The two people I cared about. The first person got me involved in the thing, and I didn't even realize it. That was my grandmother. Then Ma gets into it, my second stringer. Grandma was just getting into the damn situation. Ma was the second stringer, and I had to do everything else I could to support my brother. And then the main test was taking care of my brother for the last several years of his life. And that's what made it even harder. That's what made it even harder. Started taking care of my brother when he was taking care of Ma. Because somebody had to watch after him. Somebody had to take care of his ass. Taking care of two people at the same damn time. Ma's life's just ending. Dave's problems starting to mount up, and I had to do what? Now I'm in a situation where I'm going to need to get a caregiver myself. I don't want one. I don't want one. I don't want to put them through this damn shit. Because I'm already having enough problems with my own damn shit as it is. I don't need to put them through this damn crap. I know what it's at stake. I know my logic and my reasoning is faulty at this point over here, but I don't care. I got health issues that are going to be popping up over here. They're going to be taking me out. Maybe that's so. I haven't taken care of myself as I should have. And I'm feeling like, fuck it all. And that's the greatest mistakes that our caregivers are making these days, especially when they're popping off left and right. The same exact sentiments I just said. They don't care about their own family, they don't care about anything else. They're all self-survival. Thrown out the window, they want to just die. And damn it, I don't want to die, I want to live. But I hate going through the damn process of living, especially when I have to go through a hell of a lot of pain and the grief and the aggravations and everything else. But it looks like I'm going to have to be man up to deal with that one as well, aren't I? You may think this is the most boring hour ever, but you know what? That's up to you. You haven't been a caregiver, if you have been a caregiver, you probably think it's all bullshit, unless you're already thinking, this guy's already been through it. He knows more about it. I didn't need books on it. I didn't need college courses on the damn thing. It would have helped. But then again, academia doesn't exactly give you much experience except going through the damn thing day after day after day after day. When you're seeing finances dwindling left and right, you have to balance every damn penny left and right. When you're seeing bills piling up and you have to make sure which one gets paid, which one doesn't. All the while, I have to make sure that the lights and power are still going on, the food's coming in, the water's paid for, but most importantly, you got a roof over the damn head. The rent takes care of everything. It should. But it comes first. And you got to make sure the comfort and safety of your charge or yourself, both, in my case. But when they have a burp their ass, seeing that this thing over here that's going to be draining a lot of your resources and putting you through more headlocks than anything else, God. The more conflicts to get over the damn thing. I mean, easy enough just to walk away from the damn shit, and I should have done it a long time ago. Let my brother go out in the wind on this one. Maybe I should have. I asked for a lot of help, and I didn't even get the damn help, so I don't walk him through that particular pit of hell. I blame him? Yeah, I blame him. But then again, it doesn't exactly help the damn situation in the first place, especially when they had a succulent coming after her. Succubent, whatever the hell I call those things. The damn financial vampire. Not a bill collector either. Somebody falls in love with and theoretically falls in love with. And then she's draining them dry left and right. Scammers. Goddamn vampires. Sorry, what am I? That's exactly what they are. Goddamn vampires. Falls in love, she goes across the waters to a country and starts belly aching that she needs money to get the hell out. Oh, I did stories on this one. I did videos on this one. But that was the shit I had to deal with my brother all the damn time. Carolina Helen Thingvall. Went by the name of Carol. Blonde bimbo. Theoretically, Sweden, American. I didn't even act it. Anyway, long story short, I did do a video on that one again. I had to get this off. I had to get this out. I had to talk about this because if I did, it'd be driving me crazy all day. So, sorry about the long-winded spiel, but I haven't popped off. I haven't committed suicide. I'm not about to either. I like life. I'm trying to live it. I have enough pain and grief in my life as it is. I don't need to dwell in this damn situation in the first place. I've already seen one particular friend of mine, neighbor out here, who's gone through more grief than I've seen for a long while. I've seen what pain has done. Changes the holiday season we've got right now as it is, if you haven't noticed. It was hard as hell for the last 2 years trying to go through this damn stuff myself. This is still going to be hard because I still have to go through it with a positive face. Smiling face, and I'm hearing inside. That's what we have to do. Anyway.